So far in this second lesson, we have gone over how to create a background, how to import Photoshop documents, and that's in our title. And we have some graphics underneath that will help our title pop and add texture to our background. The next thing we're going to work on is add a series of photographs that will change and move as the project plays, and to add layers that start and stop at specific points in a project. So we're going to explore the editing options in Motion and how to do these effectively. And there's three types. There's composite edits, overwrite edits, and sequential edits. So the first thing we're going to look at, you should be in your file browser. If you're not, hit and press Command 1 to open the file browser. And in your file browser, you have this VidPix, and if you could see the whole title, it goes from picture number 1 to picture number 20. Now I'm going to open up this right here. This is saying I want to collapse all of my multiple layers. So if I uncheck that or unhighlight that, you'll see that these years popped up, as well as some pictures at the bottom. And so we're going to use lots of these pictures. We're going to use this series of VidPix 1 through VidPix 20. We can also do this as a list, and you can see the list of everything that we're going to use. I'm going to collapse these back down for now and then go back to my picture. So in my file browser, I can look at them in different ways. Before we get too far into this, we need to create a new group. Now this is going to be between our title and our graphics under. So we need to click on graphics under, and then we're going to create a new group by holding down the Command Shift and N button, or we can go to Object and then select New Group. We're going to title this Stills for still photographs. So in our Stills group, we're going to select our Stills group, and let's go ahead and open up our series of photographs, VidPix 1, and we want to make sure that our timeline is at 0 at the beginning, VidPix 1 001 JPEG, and we can import. Now when we do this, this will import straight to our video and timeline. In our timeline, you can see that our picture is 20 seconds long. Well, we have 20 of these pictures and we want to make it only 1 second long. So we can either do this in our timeline up here, or we can do it in our mini timeline. We're going to take the end for our VidPix 1 and we're going to shorten it. And when we get to our duration, we want it to make sure that it's 1 second long in our time code. So it goes and it plays just for 1 second and then it disappears. Well, we have 20 of these. That would be kind of difficult. So let's do it again with the second one. And it's going to appear on top. And again, we want this to be 1 second long. But we want it to play after the first video has ended, or the first picture has ended. So when this ends, the second one begins. So now in our timeline, we go to the first one, then it pops up with the second one, and so on. That's going to take a lot of time to get every single picture the right size and move it to the right place. There is an easier one. If you didn't have many pictures, that might be the way to go. If we have a series of pictures, we're going to want to find a faster and better way to move these over. And the other way that we can do this, I'm going to change to the list down here, and starting with our VidPix 03, I'm going to hold the shift button down, and then I'm going to select my last picture. So the first picture, hold the shift button down, select the last picture, and now I hold the whole series in place. I'm going to drag this to the timeline where I want these to start, and I'm going to hold it down until I see either composite or sequential. Well, we want to import these one right after the other. Now, one of the things that we need to do before that, because if we did it right now, we would have 20 pictures that are all 20 seconds long. We need to change our duration of each picture as we import it. So we're going to go to File, Motion, and Preferences. And in our project, normally it has the general first. In our project, we're going to go down to where it says Still Images and Layers, and we're going to use a custom duration, and we're going to make this 1 second. Yours might read 10 seconds if this is the first time you've used it. So 1 second, and that's where we're going to close the preferences out. Now let's go back to our list, hold the shift button down, and hold until the 20. Now when I drag this over, each one should be 20 throughout the whole thing, 1 second. We're going to click on Sequential, which is going to import objects one after the other. If I did a composite, it would import objects one on top of the other. And then I would still have to change them, move them in the timeline where I wanted them to be. But if I hit sequential, and I'm going to scroll down so you can see how it imported each one. So starting at 2 seconds, and it's kind of out of the sequence with the 1 and 2, but 3, 4, 5, 6, and all the way to 20, and it ends up right at 20 seconds. So as I walk through, and you can see on the mini timeline, one right after the other. So I select them, and then they go through each one. So that's how we are going to import sequences into our timeline for our stills section. So as we play it, you can see some of the pictures are black and white, some of them are color. They're all stacked on top of each other. Some are action and so on. So we have some color in there. We have some black and white in there. We sort of want to merge some of these and create some blending with these series of photographs. So we're going to pause this, and let's take this back to the beginning. And just for simplicity's sake, let's condense these down and go back to our pictures. And as we're working with these, let's go ahead and close our stills group in our timeline and our stills group in our layers section. And we still want the layers section selected, we just don't want to see all 20 pictures at once because we want to affect the group as a whole, all at once. So in our canvas, we're going to scale the group to about 110%. and reposition it in the rectangle. So we're going to hold the shift button down because we want to keep our proportions, and we're actually going to make it a little bit bigger, so 110, and I can see the scale when it appears up there. So now let's take this and move it to our empty square that we created, our rectangle area over here. And with the stills, we're going to create a circle mask. So to make a circle mask, I need to go to the gray stripe mask, hold it down, and we're going to click on circle. with our stills selected, because we're working only with the stills, let's hold down the Shift and the Option button, and we're going to create a mask from the center of the photo, and we're going to make it large enough to encompass the drummer. And it appears with our green circle, letting us know that that's where our mask is. So, making sure that our drummer's pretty much within the frame. You might want to move it down just a little bit, and let's size it down just a little bit more. Now we're assuming that for most of the pictures we're looking at the center part, but let's go ahead and in our mask let's change the feather, and that will help soften the edges and increase our size. So let's change our feather to 100 is pretty good, but that's as far as we can go on our HUD. So let's go to our inspector and let's change our feather, and we're going to have to type this in because our slider doesn't go as far. Let's type this into 200 and see what that does. That might be a little much, seeing as how it's now cut off on the edges. So let's bring our feather down. Let's try 150. Still a little bit too much. So let's try 125. Not 1200. 25. Okay, so that's pretty good. Let's adjust it a little bit more. There we go. We want to make sure that we're not seeing the edges too much, and you can slightly see the edge of this. So let's move it up just a little more, and then a little bit over. And you just kind of adjust until you get to the point where you actually need it to be. And I don't think that's too bad. I actually just went back down to 100 because it was just too much. And we'll stop there with our mask, and then we'll start up the next section, completing the stills folder in our next video.